Welcome back. We're unpacking all the recent happenings in the US presidential election race, which is, of course, happening, the election on November 5th. And joining me again is Peter Roth. Peter, in what for some may be a shocking move, I wasn't actually surprised in the least. I expected this probably 1 to 2 years ago. President Biden resigned as the Democratic nominee for president. Now, not as president, but just as the nominee for the election. Uh, so, with mere months to go before the election, even a month before the Democratic convention, with virtually all the delegates confirmed for Biden, what happens now? This is, I think, unprecedented. You tell me.
Nobody's sure. The closest parallel is 1968, when at the very beginning of the primary process, which wasn't nearly as important then as it is now, President Lyndon Johnson went on television and said that he would not seek nor accept the nomination of his party for another term as president of the United States. The Democratic Party is in absolute control of the rules. And so the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Convention, they can change the rules. But as they exist now, the people that were elected to go to the convention and vote for Biden and Harris are bound to vote for Biden and Harris on the first ballot.
Even though he stepped down as the candidate, they're still
whether
bound?
he stepped down or not.
Really?
That's the rules now. Now, it is almost clear to me that somebody will move to mend the rules, but what they move to will be interesting. Will there be an effort by the Democratic Committee to have any kind of regional primaries between now and the start of the Chicago Convention, so that they can claim some mandate for whoever the nominee becomes? Either state-run primaries or some kind of internet poll, something, so that they can tie some level of Democratic grassroots support to who the eventual nominee is. Because otherwise, you've got a nominee that's been picked by a handful of Democratic leaders in a back room, which doesn't actually fit with the idea that the Republicans are the elitists, the Democrats are the party of the people. You know, their nominee's been picked by Nancy Pelosi, the Obamas, and the Clintons. So we don't know what's going to happen. I think Harris has a month to audition for the job of nominee, and if she does a good job and she's competitive in the polls with Trump, she gets to be the nominee. If she does a bad job and Trump is as likely to beat her as he is Biden, which is where we are right now at this minute, they open up the convention, nominations from the floor, and you could end up with a ticket that has neither Biden nor Harris on it, which is remarkable when, if you go back to March 1, certainly April 1, we knew who the Democratic nominee was, we knew who the Republican nominee was, and it was a no drama campaign. Mm-hmm. And now it's like something you'd see on television.
And we are seeing it on television. So let's talk about, because you hit a very good point, and that leads to my next question about the democratic process. And I think some of our viewers might not realize, but there were, several hundred thousands, millions of Democrats who voted.
14.5 million people
14.5
participated
yes.
in the nominating process.
And then
in that mix were some independents and some Republicans, because you don't have to be a registered member of the Democratic Party to vote in the party primary in every state. Many states you do, but not in every state. But 14.5 million people went to the polls and said, I want my nominees to be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And the party leaders worked really hard to keep anybody else from entering the race, giving them a choice. And these were all people who knew that the Biden you were seeing in public was very different from the Biden that you were seeing in private. And that may even go back as far as 2020. We don't really know, because the COVID campaign kept Biden in his basement, talking to the country over the internet. So we don't really know if the things that we saw in the first debate were present while he was campaigning for president in the election that he won. but they all knew. So there are a lot of Democrats that are going to have to answer for the role they played in the cover up of the problems with the president's health.
Okay,
There
we're
are going
gonna
to be some people who are angry about being disenfranchised, but partisan Democrats want to beat Trump so badly that ultimately that's not going to matter.
okay, we're gonna pick this up in just a few moments.